Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the UES Valiant. The bridge hummed with quiet activity as his crew went about their daily tasks. Outside the thick windows, stars stretched into long lines as the ship moved through hyperspace. "Jump. Complete in 30 seconds, Captain," called out Navigator Steve Anderson from his station. The young officer checked his instruments twice before speaking. Jake had learned to trust Steve's careful nature during their 2 years together. "Thank you, Steve. All stations, prepare for normal space transition." Jake pressed a button on his chair. His voice echoed through the ship's corridors. The Valiant was not the biggest ship in the human fleet, but she was tough. Her gray hull bore scars from 3 previous missions. Jake preferred ships that had proven themselves in real situations. The hyperspace tunnel collapsed around them. Stars returned to their normal positions. Steve frowned at his display screen. "Captain, something is wrong with our position." "Wrong how?" Jake stood up and walked to the navigation station. The bridge crew turned to listen. "We should be near the outer rim colony of New Texas, but these star patterns do not match our charts." Steve's fingers moved quickly over his controls. "I am reading massive gravitational distortions in this region. Something pulled us off course during the jump." Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez looked up from the tactical station. "Captain, I am detecting multiple large ships nearby. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases." Jake felt his stomach tighten. First rule of space travel was to avoid unknown ships in unknown regions. "How many ships, Amy?" "At least a dozen. The largest one is 3 times our size." Amy's voice stayed calm, but Jake noticed her hand move closer to the weapon controls. "Put it on the main screen." The forward display activated. Jake saw ships that looked like works of art. Their hulls curved and flowed like water. Bright blue lights ran along their surfaces in complex patterns. These ships moved with perfect formation through space. "Beautiful," whispered communications. Officer Kelly Brooks. "I have never seen anything like them." "Beautiful things can still kill you," Jake replied. "Kelly, scan all frequencies, see if we can establish contact." The largest alien ship began turning toward them. Its movement was smooth and elegant. Jake compared it to his own ship in his mind. The Valiant looked like a metal brick next to these graceful vessels. "Captain, the large ship is hailing us," Kelly announced. "Their transmission is coming through on multiple frequencies. They are trying to establish communication protocols." On screen. The display changed to show an alien face. The creature had blue-gray skin and large golden eyes. Its features were sharp and angular. When it spoke, the ship's computer translated its words. "Unknown vessel. You have entered the sovereign territory of the Zephyrian Empire. I am Admiral Crix Valandor of the Imperial Navy. State your name and purpose immediately." Jake stepped forward. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Valiant. We experienced a navigation error during hyperspace travel. We mean no harm and request safe passage to return to our own territory." The alien admiral's eyes narrowed. "Your vessel appears primitive and your manner of speech is crude. The Zephyrian Empire does not grant passage to inferior species without proper screening. You will surrender your ship and submit to Imperial authority." "With respect, Admiral, we cannot do that. We are lost, not surrendering. Help us find our way home and we will leave your space immediately." Admiral Valandor's expression showed clear disgust. "Your tone is unacceptable. No lesser species speaks to Imperial officers in such a manner. Prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with force." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew watched him with steady eyes. They had all volunteered for frontier duty. They knew the risks of exploring unknown regions of space. "Admiral, we will defend ourselves if attacked. Stand down your forces and we can resolve this peacefully." "Defend yourselves?" The alien admiral laughed. "Your single primitive vessel against the might of the Imperial Navy? You display typical lesser species ignorance. Comply now, or face the consequences. The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. Amy, what are our tactical options? 3. Ships are moving to surround us. They appear to be cruiser-class vessels. Each one is larger than us, but our armor is thicker and our weapons are different from theirs. Amy studied her displays. Captain, their ships are built for energy warfare. I am seeing particle beam weapons and plasma cannons, but no kinetic weapons. And we specialize in kinetic weapons, Jake said. How long until they reach firing position? 2 minutes, Captain. Jake made his decision. All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. We did not come here looking for a fight, but we will not surrender to bullies. Amy, prepare defensive systems. Steve, plot a course back toward human space. Kelly, send a message drone with our current situation. Red lights flashed throughout. The ship. Blast doors sealed shut. The Valiant's crew moved with practiced efficiency to their combat positions. Jake had drilled them hard during their patrol missions. Now that training would be tested. Captain, the alien ships are powering. Weapons, Amy reported. They are targeting our engines. They want to disable us, not destroy us. That gives us an advantage. Jake sat back down in his command chair. Wait for my order to return fire. The first enemy beams struck the Valiant's rear shields. Energy crackled across the ship's hull. The lights flickered but held steady. Jake felt the ship shudder under the impact. Shields holding at 80%, called out engineer Lisa Parker from her station. Their weapons are powerful, but our shields are designed to handle this level of energy discharge. Captain, they are increasing power, Amy said. I think they expected us to surrender after the first hit. More beams struck the ship. The Valiant's shields flared bright white as they absorbed the energy. Jake watched the tactical display. The 3 alien ships had formed a triangle around them. Their beams focused on the Valiant's engine section. Shields at 60%, Lisa reported. They are trying to wear us down slowly. Jake nodded. Amy, return fire. Show them what human weapons can do. The Valiant's main guns spoke for the first time in alien space. Unlike the flowing energy beams of the enemy, human weapons fired solid projectiles at incredible speed. Metal slugs the size of cars flew through space faster than most ships could detect. The closest alien cruiser took 3 direct hits. Its elegant hull cracked and split. Atmosphere vented from multiple breaches. The ship's perfect formation broke as it spun out of control. Direct hits on Target 1, Amy announced. Their shields did not stop our projectiles. The other 2, alien ships immediately changed tactics. They spread out and began evasive maneuvers. Their energy beams became less accurate but more frequent. They are confused, Jake observed. They expected an energy duel, not solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. The battle had begun. One human ship against the might of an empire that had ruled this region for thousands of years. But the Zephyrians were about to learn that humans fought differently than any species they had ever encountered. The second Zephyrian cruiser fired a concentrated plasma burst at the Valiant's bridge section. Lieutenant Commander Amy Rodriguez watched the bright orange energy approach on her tactical screen. She had milliseconds to react. Point defense. Engage! Amy's fingers danced across her controls. Hundreds of small guns emerged from hidden panels along the Valiant's hull. They fired streams of metal pellets into space, creating a wall of kinetic death between the ship and the incoming plasma. The plasma burst struck the defensive screen and scattered into harmless light. Admiral Valendor, watching from his flagship, could not believe what he saw. No ship should be able to deploy that many defensive weapons so quickly. Impossible, he muttered. How many guns does that primitive vessel carry? His tactical officer checked the sensor readings twice before answering. Admiral, we count over 300 individual point defense systems. Each one fires solid projectiles at high velocity. Their rate of fire exceeds our tracking capabilities. On the Valiant's bridge, Jake Morrison studied the enemy formation. The aliens moved their ships with mathematical precision. Every maneuver followed perfect geometric patterns. It was impressive, but also predictable. Amy, do you see the pattern in their movement? Jake pointed at the tactical display. Yes, Captain. They move like a dance. Beautiful, but rigid. They cannot adapt quickly to unexpected situations. Amy highlighted the enemy ships on her screen. If we break their formation, they will need time to reorganize. Then let us break it. Target the ship on our port side. Full spread of kinetic torpedoes. The Valiant's torpedo tubes opened. 6 large projectiles launched into space. Unlike energy weapons, the torpedoes could change direction during flight. Amy guided them through a complex approach pattern that confused the alien sensors. The Zephyrian cruiser detected the incoming weapons too late. Its energy shields flared as the first torpedo struck. The solid warhead punched through the shield like it was made of paper. The second torpedo hit the same spot, widening the breach. The remaining 4 torpedoes flew through the gap and struck the ship's hull directly. Explosions rippled along the alien vessel's elegant curves. Its blue lights flickered and died. The ship listed to one side as its engines failed. Emergency. Pods began launching from various sections. Target 2 is disabled, Amy reported. Minimal life support remaining. They are abandoning ship. The third Zephyrian cruiser changed tactics completely. Instead of maintaining formation, it accelerated, directly toward the Valiant. Its captain had decided to ram the human ship rather than face more of their impossible weapons. Ramming course detected, Steve Anderson called out from navigation. Impact in 40 seconds. Jake gripped his command chair. Lisa, emergency power to engines. Get us out of here. Engineer Lisa Parker had been waiting for this moment. She pushed the Valiant's fusion reactors beyond their normal limits. Energy flowed through the ship's systems like liquid fire. The engines roared to life with 3 times their usual output. The Valiant shot forward just as the alien cruiser reached their previous position. The Zephyrian ship flew through empty space, its ramming attempt completely missed. Now they are. Out of position, Jake said. Amy, can you target their engines? Already locked on, Captain. Amy fired the Valiant's main guns again. The kinetic rounds crossed the distance in seconds. They struck the alien ship's engine section with devastating accuracy. The Zephyrian cruiser's rear section exploded in a brilliant flash. The ship tumbled end over end, completely out of control. More escape pods launched as the crew abandoned their dying vessel. In the space of 5 minutes, the Valiant had destroyed or disabled 3 Imperial Navy cruisers. Admiral Valandor watched in shock from his flagship, the Sovereign's Pride. His elegant formation lay in ruins. Admiral, his communications officer said quietly, we are receiving surrender signals from the human vessel. Surrender? Valandor straightened in his command throne. They wish to surrender now? No, sir. They are offering to surrender us. The human captain is requesting permission to beam medical supplies to our damaged ships. Valandor stared at his officer. In 2,000 years of Imperial history, no enemy had ever offered aid to defeated Zephyrian forces. The concept was completely alien to his understanding of warfare. On the Valiant, Dr. Ben Collins was already preparing medical kits. Captain, their life support systems are failing on both damaged ships. They have maybe 30 minutes before. Complete atmospheric loss. Jake nodded. Do what you can, Doc. Kelly, open a channel to the enemy flagship. Admiral Valandor's image appeared on the main screen. His golden eyes showed confusion and suspicion. Human Captain, explain your intentions. Admiral, your ships are badly damaged. Your crews are in danger. We have medical supplies and emergency life support equipment. Let us help your people. This is some form of deception, Valandor replied. You seek to board our vessels and capture Imperial technology. Jake shook his head. We will transport the supplies directly to your cargo bays. No human will board your ships. We fight when attacked, but we do not kill unnecessarily. For long seconds, Valandor said nothing. His tactical training told him this was a trap, but his sensors showed that the human ship could have destroyed his remaining vessels easily. If they wanted to capture Imperial technology, they had already won the battle. "Very well," he said finally. "But any attempt at deception will result in the complete destruction of your vessel." "Understood, Admiral." Jake turned to his crew. "Doc, prepare the medical supplies. Kelly, coordinate with their cargo systems." The next hour passed in tense cooperation. Human medical supplies materialized aboard the damaged Zephyrian ships. Emergency atmosphere generators provided breathable air for the injured crews. Portable medical scanners helped Zephyrian doctors treat their wounded. Dr. Collins monitored the transfers from the Valiant's medical bay. "Captain, their physiology is similar to ours. Our medical equipment works on them with minor adjustments. I am sending treatment protocols to their medical staff." Admiral Valandor watched the rescue operations with growing bewilderment. The humans provided aid without asking for anything in return. They shared their medical knowledge freely. Their actions violated every principle of Imperial warfare. "Admiral," his intelligence officer reported, "we have analyzed the human weapon systems during the battle. Their technology is crude but effective. They use kinetic energy instead of sophisticated particle manipulation." "Crude?" Valandor looked at the wreckage of his formation. "They destroyed 3 cruisers in minutes with their crude technology." "Yes, sir, but the implications are disturbing. If this is their crude technology, what do their advanced weapons look like?" Valandor had not considered this possibility. The human ship appeared primitive by Imperial standards. Its hull was scarred and functional rather than beautiful. Its weapons were simple kinetic systems rather than elegant energy manipulators. Yet it had defeated his forces with contemptuous ease. "Send a message to Imperial Command," he ordered. "Priority Alpha encryption. Report that we have encountered a new species with unknown military capabilities. Request instructions for further contact." On the Valiant, Jake was making his own plans. "Steve, do you have our position figured out?" "Yes, Captain. We are approximately 200 light-years inside Zephyrian territory. It will take us 3 days to reach the border if we maintain maximum speed." "And how long before they can bring reinforcements?" Amy checked her tactical analysis. "Based on their ship movements, they have major bases within 6 hours of this position. If they call for help, we will face much larger forces." Jake looked at the main screen. The Zephyrian flagship maintained its distance, but he could see other ships approaching on long-range sensors. "Then we better leave now, before this gets more complicated." "Captain," Kelly interrupted, "the Zephyrian Admiral is requesting another communication. On screen." Valandor's image appeared again. The alien's expression was difficult to read. "Human Captain, I must ask a question. Why did you provide aid to our forces?" Jake considered his answer carefully. "Admiral, we may be enemies in battle, but your wounded crews are not our enemies. They are just people trying to survive." "People?" Valandor repeated the word slowly. "You consider us people?" "Of course. Different species, different cultures, but still people with families and lives that matter." Admiral Valandor fell silent again. In Imperial doctrine, only Zephyrians were considered truly sentient. All other species were classified as lesser beings, useful only as servants or resources. The idea that an alien species might consider Zephyrians as equals was revolutionary. "Captain Morrison," Valandor said finally, "you and your vessel are free to leave Imperial space. I will not pursue you further." Jake felt surprised, but relieved. "Thank you, Admiral. I hope our next meeting will be under better circumstances." The transmission ended. Jake turned to his crew. "Steve, take us home. Maximum speed." The Valiant turned away from the battlefield and accelerated toward the border. Behind them, Admiral Valandor watched the human ship disappear into hyperspace. He had many reports to write and many questions to answer, but first, he had to decide whether to call the human actions mercy or something far more dangerous to the Empire. Emperor Zenth Corvanus III sat on his crystal throne in the heart of Eternity's Gate, the massive orbital fortress that served as the center of Zephyrian power. The throne room was a work of art, with flowing walls that seemed to move like liquid, metal. Holographic displays showed the vast extent of his empire, stretching across thousands of star systems. But today, the Emperor's attention focused on a single small dot on the tactical display. The location where one primitive alien ship had destroyed 3 Imperial cruisers and then vanished. "Read the report again," the Emperor commanded. His voice echoed through the chamber with absolute authority. General Marcus Vex stepped forward. He was the only human in the room, though few would recognize his species now. Decades of genetic modification had changed his appearance to match Zephyrian standards. His original brown hair was now silver blue, and his eyes had been altered to golden like his master's. "Your Imperial Majesty," Marcus began, "Admiral Valandor encountered a single vessel of unknown origin in Sector 7 Alpha. The ship identified itself as belonging to a species called humans. When ordered to surrender, they refused and engaged our forces. 3 cruisers," the Emperor said slowly. 3 of our best ships destroyed by a single alien vessel. "Yes, Your Majesty. But the tactical analysis is even more disturbing." Marcus activated a holographic display showing the battle. The human ship used kinetic weapons exclusively. Solid projectiles fired at relativistic speeds. Our energy shields provided no protection. Intelligence Director Lyra Svensson joined the conversation. She was a thin Zephyrian female with sharp features and calculating eyes. "Your Majesty, we have analyzed the intercepted communications from the human vessel. Their language is primitive, but their tactical coordination was extremely sophisticated." "What do you mean by primitive?" the Emperor asked. "They use direct, simple phrases, no artistic flourishes or elegant expressions. Their captain gave orders like a machine, efficient but crude." Lyra paused before continuing. "However, their ship's crew performed with remarkable precision. Each officer executed complex maneuvers without hesitation." The Emperor stood and walked to the great window overlooking the orbital shipyards. Hundreds of Zephyrian vessels floated in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming like jewels in space. For 2,000 years, these ships had enforced Imperial will across the galaxy. "General Vex," the Emperor said without turning around, "you were once human. Explain this species to us." Marcus felt uncomfortable discussing his former people, but he had no choice. "Your Majesty, humans are different from other species the Empire has encountered. They do not seek elegance or perfection. They build things that work regardless of beauty." "Are they intelligent?" "Yes, Your Majesty, very intelligent. But they apply their intelligence in unexpected ways. Where we would design one perfect solution, they create multiple rough solutions and choose the most effective." Lyra stepped forward with another display. "Your Majesty, there is something else. After the battle, the human ship provided medical aid to our damaged vessels. They shared their technology freely to save Zephyrian lives." The Emperor turned back to face his advisors. "They aided our forces after defeating them in battle?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Admiral Valandor confirmed this personally. The humans transported medical supplies and emergency equipment to our ships. They asked for nothing in return." "Impossible," the Emperor said flatly. "Lesser species do not aid their betters. They fear us or serve us, but they do not help us." Marcus cleared his throat carefully. "Your Majesty, if I may suggest, perhaps humans do not consider themselves lesser." The throne room fell silent. The idea that any species might consider themselves equal to Zephyrians was revolutionary. For centuries, the Empire had maintained control through technological superiority and psychological dominance. Other species accepted Zephyrian rule because they believed resistance was hopeless. "Show me the analysis of their ship," the Emperor commanded. The holographic display changed to show detailed scans of the human vessel. The Valiant appeared crude and functional compared to Zephyrian designs. Its hull was thick and scarred. Its weapons were simple kinetic systems. Its engines produced enormous amounts of energy but wasted much of it as heat. "Primitive design," observed Fleet Admiral Keth Morvain, the Empire's highest military officer. "Inefficient systems, crude construction methods. How did such a vessel defeat our cruisers?" Lyra highlighted different sections of the ship. "Admiral, their primitive design is actually their strength. Their hull is built to absorb damage rather than deflect it. Their weapons are simple but incredibly powerful. Their shields are designed to handle energy weapons, but they also carry thick armor for physical protection." "Redundant systems," Marcus added. "Where our ships have one perfect solution for each problem, they have multiple rough solutions. If one system fails, others continue operating." The Emperor returned to his throne. "What do we know about human territory?" "Very little, Your Majesty," Lyra admitted. "Our border scouts report a small cluster of systems approximately 300 light years from the encounter location, perhaps 30 inhabited worlds. Their technology appears to be industrial rather than artistic." 30 worlds? The Emperor laughed. "We control 3,000 systems. Why should we concern ourselves with such a minor species?" "Because, Your Majesty," Marcus said quietly, "that single ship was not their best vessel. According to intercepted communications, it was a patrol ship, a minor unit conducting routine operations." The laughter died in the Emperor's throat. "A patrol ship?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Their equivalent of a border guard. If this represents their standard military capability, their main battle fleet could pose a significant threat to Imperial forces." Fleet Admiral Morvain studied the tactical display again. "Your Majesty, I recommend immediate military action. We should strike their territory before they can organize effective resistance." "No," the Emperor said after a long pause. "We will pursue both paths simultaneously. Admiral Morvain, prepare a battle fleet to capture the human vessel. I want their technology analyzed and their crew interrogated, but we will also send diplomatic envoys to their territory." "Diplomatic envoys, Your Majesty?" Lyra seemed surprised. "Yes. We must learn more about this species before we decide their fate. If they are truly capable of resisting Imperial power, we need to understand their motivations and capabilities." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. He remembered the day Zephyrian diplomats had arrived at Earth 30 years ago. They had promised partnership and mutual benefit. Instead, they had taken him and thousands of other humans to serve the Empire. His family had never seen him again. "Your Majesty," Marcus said carefully, "humans may not respond to traditional diplomatic approaches. They tend to be direct in their communications. Then we will adapt our approach." The Emperor activated his personal communication system. "Summon Ambassador Kayla Thornwick. She will lead the diplomatic mission." "What are our objectives, Your Majesty?" Lyra asked. The Emperor considered his answer. "We must determine whether humans can be controlled through normal Imperial methods. If they can be made to serve, we will accept their submission. If they cannot be controlled—" He paused. "Then we will demonstrate why the Zephyrian Empire has ruled this region for 2 millennia. Meanwhile, far from the Imperial capital, Admiral Valendor sat alone in his damaged flagship. His communications officer had just delivered disturbing news from across the Empire. "Admiral, we are receiving reports from 17 different sectors. Local resistance groups are spreading rumors about the battle. They claim that Imperial forces have been defeated by a single alien ship." Valendor felt tired. "Are the rumors accurate?" "Yes, sir. Unfortunately, they are completely accurate." "Then we have a larger problem than one human ship," Valendor said quietly. We have given hope to every rebel group in the Empire. The officer nodded grimly. Sir, intelligence reports that weapons shipments have tripled in the outer systems. Previously peaceful species are beginning to question Imperial authority. Valandor stood and walked to his command window. In the distance, he could see the wreckage of his cruisers being collected by salvage teams. The elegant ships that had enforced Imperial will for centuries were now twisted metal and debris. "Contact Fleet Command," he ordered. "Request immediate reinforcement of all border sectors, and prepare my personal ship for departure." "Departure, sir? Where are we going?" "To find the human ship," Valandor replied. "The Emperor wants them captured, and I intend to complete that mission. But first I need to understand how they fight so differently from any species we have encountered." The Admiral looked at the tactical display one more time. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the human ship was heading home. They probably thought their encounter with the Empire was over. They were wrong. The Zephyrian Empire had faced rebellions before. They had encountered new species and new technologies. They had always emerged victorious through superior firepower and unshakable determination. But Admiral Valandor had seen something in the human captain's eyes during their communications. It was not fear or hatred or even anger. It was something far more dangerous. It was certainty, the complete confidence that they were doing the right thing, regardless of the consequences. That kind of certainty, hey. Admiral Valandor's task force moved through hyperspace like a pack of hunting predators. 12 Imperial warships followed the energy trail left by the human vessel. Their formation was perfect, their crews eager for revenge against the aliens, who had humiliated the Imperial Navy. The flagship Sovereign's Pride led the formation. Valandor stood on his bridge, studying tactical displays that showed the human ship's projected course. His best analysts had calculated multiple possible destinations, but all paths led toward the same region of space. "Admiral," his navigation officer reported, "we are gaining on the target. Current projections show intercept in 18 hours. "Excellent." Valandor turned to his tactical officer. "What is the status of our experimental weapons?" "The plasma lance is fully charged. Sir, the gravitic mines are deployed and ready. The ion disruptor cannons have been calibrated specifically for the human ship's energy signature." Valandor nodded with satisfaction. The Empire's best scientists had worked frantically to develop weapons that could penetrate kinetic armor. If the humans thought their crude defensive systems would protect them again, they would learn otherwise. Meanwhile, aboard the Valiant, Captain Jake Morrison faced difficult choices. His ship was running at maximum speed toward human space, but the Zephyrian pursuit force was faster. Chief Navigator Steve Anderson had calculated their options multiple times, and none of them looked good. "Captain," Steve said quietly, "we can reach human territory, but only if we push the engines beyond safety limits. There is a 60% chance of reactor failure if we maintain current speed." Jake studied the navigation display. 3 days. To safety, but the alien ships would catch them in 18 hours. "What about alternate routes?" "There are 2 possibilities, sir. We could detour through the nebular drift, which would add 4 days to our journey but might hide us from their sensors. Or we could head for Nexus Station." "Nexus Station?" Jake had heard the name but never visited the place. Amy Rodriguez looked up from her tactical station. "It is a neutral trading post on the border between Imperial and human space. Multiple species use it for commerce. If we fight there, we might draw attention from other powers." Dr. Ben Collins joined the discussion from his medical station. "Captain, I have been interviewing our Zephyrian guests. They have provided some interesting information about their empire." Jake turned to face the doctor. During the journey, Collins had been treating 3 injured Zephyrian survivors who had remained aboard the Valiant when their ship was destroyed. "What kind of information?" "Their empire controls through fear and superior technology, but their real strength comes from making other species believe that resistance is hopeless. They have ruled for 2,000 years because nobody has successfully challenged them. Until now, Amy said grimly. Exactly. Our victory has already had consequences. According to our guests, rebellion is spreading throughout their territory. Multiple species are questioning Zephyrian authority for the first time in centuries. Communications Officer Kelly Brooks interrupted the conversation. Captain, I am detecting long-range communication signals from the pursuing fleet. They are coordinating with other Imperial forces. How many other forces? Jake asked. Kelly checked her instruments carefully. At least 6 separate battle groups are converging on our projected course. The Zephyrians are mobilizing their entire border fleet. Jake felt the weight of command pressing down on him. His single ship had somehow triggered a major military response from an entire galactic empire. Worse, that response was growing larger every hour. Captain, Steve said suddenly, I am reading massive gravitational distortions ahead. Something very large is affecting local space-time. The main screen activated to show their destination. Nexus Station hung in space like a metal city. Dozens of ships from different species orbited the massive structure. Jake had never seen such a diverse collection of vessels in one location. Those are not all Imperial ships, Amy observed. I count at least 8 different technological signatures. Some of them are completely unknown. And some of them are human, Kelly added with excitement. I am detecting 3 Earth-built vessels in the vicinity. Jake made his decision. Set course for Nexus Station. Maximum speed. Sir, Steve protested, if we fight near the station, we could cause massive civilian casualties. We are not going there to fight, Jake replied. We are going there to talk. 6 hours later, the Valiant approached Nexus Station, broadcasting on all frequencies. Jake stood on his bridge, preparing to make the most important speech of his career. Kelly, open a channel to the entire system. All ships, all stations, every receiver in range. Channel open, Captain. Jake took a deep breath. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth ship Valiant. We are being pursued by Imperial forces after an accidental border crossing resulted in armed conflict. I want every ship in this system to know what happened and why. For the next 10 minutes, Jake described the encounter with Admiral Valandor's fleet. He explained how the Zephyrians had demanded surrender and attacked when refused. He detailed the battle and its aftermath, including the human decision to provide medical aid to wounded enemies. The Zephyrian Empire believes that other species should submit to their authority without question. They consider resistance to be impossible and mercy to be weakness. We have proven them wrong on both counts. Jake paused before continuing. In 18 hours, a large Imperial fleet will arrive. At this station, they come seeking revenge for their defeat and capture of our ship. We did not start this conflict, but we will finish it if necessary. The communication ended. For several minutes, the system remained silent. Then responses began flooding in. From ships throughout the region, a Velcarian trade captain was the first to speak. Human vessel, the Velcarian Commerce Guild stands with you. We have suffered under Imperial taxation for 3 centuries. A Drakmaran military ship added its voice. The Drakmaran Republic offers assistance. Our people remember when the Empire conquered our worlds. More voices joined the growing chorus. Species that had remained silent under Imperial rule for generations suddenly found their courage. The sight of one human ship defying the entire Zephyrian Empire had given them hope. Captain, Amy reported with amazement, 47 ships have declared support for our position. They are forming a defensive perimeter around the station. Jake felt both proud and terrified. His crew's actions had inspired a coalition that might change the balance of power in this region of space, but it also meant that many innocent people would die if the situation escalated into war. Dr. Collins approached the command area. Captain, our Zephyrian guests wish to speak with you. They have a proposal. Jake followed the doctor to the medical bay. The three alien survivors sat in recovery beds, their blue-gray skin pale from their injuries. The senior officer, a female named Lisa Corvin, spoke first. "Captain Morrison, we have heard your broadcast to the system. We wish to add our voices to your message. You want to help us?" Jake could not hide his surprise. "We want to help end this conflict before it becomes a war," Corvin replied. "Admiral Valandor is a good officer, but he follows Imperial doctrine without question. That doctrine demands total submission from all non-Zephyrian species." "And you disagree with that doctrine?" "We have seen how you treat prisoners and wounded enemies. You showed mercy when you could have shown strength. That is not the action of an inferior species." Jake considered her words carefully. "What do you propose?" "Allow us to contact Admiral Valandor directly. Let us explain what we have witnessed aboard your ship. Perhaps we can convince him that humans deserve respect rather than conquest." Meanwhile, deep in Imperial space, Ambassador Kayla Thornwick prepared her diplomatic mission to human territory. She was a seasoned diplomat who had negotiated with dozens of species over her long career. But the reports she had read about humans troubled her deeply. "Ambassador," her aide reported, "we have established the location of the primary human government. Their capital world is called Earth, located in a system they call Sol. What do we know about their political structure?" "It appears to be extremely complex, Ambassador. They have multiple governments that compete with each other, but they also cooperate on larger issues. Their military forces are controlled by separate organizations that somehow coordinate their activities." Thornwick felt confused. How can they maintain military effectiveness with such a chaotic command structure? "Unknown, Ambassador. But their ship's crew demonstrated remarkable coordination during the battle with Admiral Valandor's forces." The ambassador studied intelligence reports about human culture and technology. Everything she read contradicted standard Imperial assumptions about lesser species. Humans appeared to be highly intelligent, technologically sophisticated, and completely unwilling to accept subordinate status. "Prepare the diplomatic vessel," she ordered. "We depart for human space immediately." "What are your negotiation objectives, Ambassador?" Thornwick paused before answering. Imperial doctrine called for the immediate submission of all contacted species. But the reports from Admiral Valandor suggested that humans might not submit easily. "Our objective is to avoid a war that the Empire might not win," she said quietly. Back at Nexus Station, the Allied fleet continued to grow. Ships from Admiral Valandor stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Where he had expected to find one isolated human ship, he saw a massive coalition fleet. 67 vessels from 12 different species surrounded Nexus Station in a defensive formation. The single human vessel that had defeated his cruisers now flew at the center of the largest multi-species alliance in centuries. "Admiral," his communications officer reported with a trembling voice, "we are receiving transmission requests from multiple sources. The human captain, the station commander, and representatives from the Velcarian Commerce Guild, the Drakmaran Republic, and 7 other species." Valandor felt the weight of Imperial history pressing down on him. For 2,000 years, the Empire had faced rebellions and resistance movements, but they had always fought individual species separately. Never before had multiple species united against Zephyrian authority. "Put the human captain on screen," he ordered. Captain Jake Morrison's image appeared on the main display. Behind him, Valandor could see the bridge of the human ship, with its crude but functional design. The human looked tired but determined. "Admiral Valandor," Jake said formally, "I want to speak with you before this situation gets out of control." "Captain Morrison, you have committed acts of war against the Zephyrian Empire. Surrender your vessel immediately or face the consequences." "Admiral, with respect, you attacked us first. We defended ourselves. Everything that has happened since then flows from your decision to demand our surrender rather than offer assistance to a lost ship." Valandor felt frustrated by the human's direct manner of speaking. Where was the proper deference to Imperial authority? Where was the fear that should accompany facing the Empire's military might? Captain, you are one ship facing 12 Imperial vessels. Your alien allies cannot protect you from the full power of the Empire. Jake's expression remained calm. Admiral, look at your tactical display. Really look at it. Count the ships that have gathered here. These are not my allies. They are species that have chosen to stand up for the principle that might does not make right. Valandor did look at his display again. The Coalition fleet included some of the most advanced non-Imperial technology in the galaxy. Valkyrian shields, Drakmoran weapons, Thylorian engines, and dozens of other systems that the Empire had always dismissed as inferior. They have gathered here because your Empire has ruled through fear for too long, Jake continued. You have convinced entire species that resistance is hopeless. But one human ship has proven that wrong, and now they remember that they have choices. Before Valandor could respond, another voice interrupted the communication. It was Lisa Corvin, the Zephyrian survivor who had remained aboard the human ship. Admiral Valandor, this is Sub-Commander Corvin. I am speaking to you from aboard the human vessel. Valandor's eyes widened. Sub-Commander, are you being held prisoner? No, Admiral. I am being treated as an honored guest. The humans saved my life and the lives of my crew. They have shown us hospitality and respect. They have given us access to their medical technology and their cultural databases. And what have you learned? Corvin paused before answering. Admiral, humans do not consider themselves superior to other species, but they also do not consider themselves inferior. They believe that all intelligent species have equal rights to exist and govern themselves. Valandor felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. In his centuries of service to the Empire, he had never questioned the fundamental principle that Zephyrians were naturally superior to all other species. Admiral, Jake said, we can end this peacefully. Order your fleet to withdraw, and we will return your people safely. No one else has to die today. I cannot withdraw, Valandor replied. The Emperor has ordered your capture. If I fail, he will send larger fleets with more destructive weapons. Then let us send a different message to your Emperor. Jake activated a system-wide communication channel. His voice reached every ship at Nexus Station and beyond, carried by relay stations throughout the region. Citizens of the galaxy, this is Captain Jake Morrison speaking from Nexus Station. Today, we face a choice that will determine the future of this region of space. The Zephyrian Empire demands submission from all other species. They claim the right to rule over us because they believe themselves to be superior. Jake paused, letting his words sink in. But we have proven that superiority is not determined by age or tradition. It is determined by actions. The Empire attacks the lost and demands surrender from the innocent. We defend the helpless and offer aid to our enemies. Throughout Imperial space, the transmission was being received by hidden rebel cells, merchant vessels, and even Imperial ships whose crews were beginning to question their orders. The choice is simple, Jake continued. We can accept that might makes right, or we can stand together and prove that right makes might. Today, at Nexus Station, representatives from 12 species have chosen to stand together. We invite the Zephyrian Empire to join us in building a galaxy based on cooperation rather than domination. The transmission ended. Admiral Valandor stood, silently on his bridge, feeling the eyes of his crew upon him. His tactical officer waited for orders. His weapons officer stood ready to fire. His communications officer monitored incoming signals from across the Empire. Admiral, the communications officer said quietly, we are receiving reports from Imperial Command. Rebellions have broken out in 14 sectors. Multiple species are declaring independence. The Outer Rim colonies are requesting negotiation rather than military intervention. Valandor closed his eyes. The empire he had served faithfully for 3 centuries was beginning to crumble, and it was all because one human ship had refused to surrender. Admiral, his tactical officer said urgently. New contacts detected. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace at extreme range. The tactical display updated to show massive Imperial reinforcements arriving in the system. Dreadnoughts, battle. Cruisers and carrier groups emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. At their center flew the largest ship Valandor had ever seen. The Emperor's personal flagship, he whispered. Emperor Zenth Corvanus III had come to Nexus Station personally. His ship, the Eternal Dominion, was a marvel of Zephyrian engineering. 3 times the size of the largest human vessel, it carried enough firepower to destroy entire fleets. The Emperor's image appeared on screens throughout the system. His presence radiated authority and power that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. This is Emperor Zenth Corvanus III, rightful ruler of this region of space. All vessels will surrender immediately or face complete annihilation. But instead of fear, his words met with defiance. Ship after ship responded with declarations of independence. Species that had served the Empire for centuries announced their intention to govern themselves. Captain Jake Morrison opened a direct channel to the Imperial flagship. Your Imperial Majesty, I am Captain Jake Morrison. I believe we need to talk. The Emperor's golden eyes blazed with fury. You will address me as your Imperial Majesty and beg for mercy, human. I will address you with the respect due to any leader, Jake replied calmly, but I will not beg. We have done nothing that requires forgiveness. For long moments, the two leaders stared at each other across the vast distance of space. The Emperor saw a primitive alien who had somehow triggered the greatest crisis in Imperial history. Jake saw a being who had lived so long with absolute power that he had forgotten how to consider alternatives. Your Majesty, Jake said finally, you rule an empire built on the belief that some species are naturally superior to others, but superiority must be proven through actions, not inherited through birth. The Zephyrian Empire has ruled for 2,000 years, the Emperor replied. Our superiority is proven by our success. Your success was built on preventing other species from reaching their potential. You have kept them as servants and subjects instead of allowing them to become partners and equals. The Emperor activated his weapons systems. The Eternal Dominion bristled with enough firepower to level continents. I have heard enough of your primitive philosophy. Surrender now or watch your allies die. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew waited calmly for his decision. They had known this moment would come since the battle began. Your Majesty, if you fire on this coalition, you will prove that the Empire can only rule through violence. Every species in the galaxy will see that you fear equality more than war. I fear nothing, the Emperor declared. Then prove it. Meet with representatives from the coalition. Negotiate a new relationship based on mutual respect instead of domination. The Emperor paused. His tactical officers urged him to attack. His political advisors warned him about the consequences of showing weakness. But deep in his mind, a small voice wondered what would happen if he chose a different path. Admiral Valandor broke the silence. Your Imperial Majesty, I request permission to speak. Granted, Admiral. Your Majesty, I have fought the humans. I have seen their capabilities and their character. They are not inferior beings seeking to challenge our authority. They are equals seeking to earn our respect. The Emperor's expression showed shock. Admiral, you forget yourself. No, Your Majesty. I remember myself. I remember why I became a soldier. To protect the innocent and serve justice. The humans have shown me that true strength comes from